Check, check, check. 1, 2. Hello, hello. How are we doing today? Can everybody hear me? Hello, hello. Sunday fun day. We're going to be taking a look at some Inkpulp stuff today. I pulled out a bunch of Inkpulp related things out of my collection. Mainly just comic books, obviously. I do have a print as well that we're going to be taking a look at, but mainly just comics from over the guys' careers, and we'll kind of go over that a little bit here as well. Alright, first things first, my name's Sam, and welcome to the stream today. Again, we're going to be taking a look at some Inkpulp related things. I have a fat stack of comics pulled out here, as we can see. So we're going to be taking a look at everything from basically that I have in my collection that the Inkpulp guys have released over the years. So if you're not familiar with the Inkpulp dudes and what they do, basically they're a bunch of professional cartoonists, varying from like independent and Marvel, DC, Image, so on and so forth. Worked on worked on things like Deadpool, Batman, so on and so forth. They have a YouTube channel / podcast where they basically give out a lot of information, talk comics, cartooning, the art industry, so on and so forth. And then Shawn Crystal on his side of things over on Inkpulp.tv. That's more of an instructional thing where he gives instructional courses on inking, figure drawing, literally anything from start to finish on a comic, basically. And then as well, he's working on a course currently with Jake Parker over at SVS, School of Visual Storytelling. That's a 10-week course. I am enrolled into that. We are rolling up into week 2 currently. I just turned in my assignment for our first assignment yesterday, so I got that done. So we're all good there. Super excited to share, what I have cooking. As you guys are aware, I do have the first anthology that is currently out. That is on my website. I'll go ahead and put this in the chat here, so that way you guys can go check that out if need be. Probably need to turn the music down here. Give me a second here. A little loud. Okay. So yeah, go ahead and head over to my website, hit me up, want to pick up a copy. I only printed 300 of them, so it's a pretty low print, and we've sold over 90 of them so far. I plan on a majority of these being sold off over at Eddie Pecan, because I'll be tabling at Eddie Pecan this year. It's September 13th or the 14th. I'll be there both days. So you can also look forward to that. I'll have another anthology out by that time, and then as well I might have another comic out by that point. My original idea for the course was that I was going to do like a mini comic. After I had sat down and kind of spun the wheels a little bit, got the gears turning, I kind of decided that my idea was too big for it to be a mini comic, and it was too big for it to be a standard issue. So it's either going to be a series or it's going to be like a fat novel. But is what I think is what I'm going to do is I'm going to release it in like a 60-ish to like 70-ish page-ish trade, and then do ash cans for free. It's kind of like, hey, here's 4 or 5 pages with like a pin-up or whatever in it. So that way I can give that away at cons or whatever to get people in to buy the book, because the book's going to be at a higher price point, obviously, because of the page count. Probably sell it at like $14.99. I have a 20 page now, that's $5. So I'm kind of thinking, if I add 5, 10, 15, that puts me at 60 pages, right? So that's where I kind of get that math from anyways. Obviously the price per print and everything like that is going to change depending on how much I end up printing and everything like that. But I think that's probably what I'll end up doing, is just releasing it in full. And then while I'm in the process of making the book or whatever, 'cause I don't think I'm gonna have it done by August. I'm kind of hoping I will, but I highly doubt it's a 60-page comic, and I'm doing it by myself. So I'll probably have to, like I said, just kind of like release little preview slash ash can sorts of deals to show what I'm kind of working on to get people excited on the project. And it might even warrant a Kickstarter, to be honest with you. It's hard to say, and it might even warrant being pitched to like a Fantagraphics or something. Like that's the level of comic that I'm kind of going to be working on here. So who knows. But anyways, so let's go ahead and let's pop into this here. I'll reset my camera. All right, so the first thing that I wanted to take a look at was Matteo Scalera. So if you're not familiar with Matteo, as you can see, he's done work on Batman, Marvel, and his own creator things. I think Rick Remender is like the creator technically and the writer of the series of Black Science, but Matteo is the artist there. So independent creator. That's what I mean by that. It's it's Image. So this is how that rolls. I don't have anything besides Black Science of Matteo's, simply because I honestly wasn't familiar with Matteo or his work before I had discovered Inkpulp. I discovered Inkpulp probably about a year or so ago, I would say, and then I've just been, following them ever since, and I'm a earworm to these dudes and never go away, and probably annoy the shit out of them, but I'm just super excited, about making comics, and I'm super passionate about making comics, and I definitely think that Shawn can definitely tell that. So he gives me the time of day for sure, so I definitely appreciate that. Always gives me feedback and everything like that. But yeah, let's go ahead and let's take a look here, though, at some of the books that he's worked on in the past. Okay, so it looks like currently he just has like his sketchbook up and then, just a Black Science. But we can take a look here to see. Okay, yeah, so King of Spies and Space Bandits. So I don't have any of that. I might have an Indestructible Hulk hiding somewhere in one of my boxes. But yeah, I don't think I own any of the rest of this stuff, so I think I pulled everything of Matteo's that I have in terms of Black Science. So he's an Italian artist. The dude is just insane. Like, his ink wash skills is why I like his art so much, and I really hope that he plays more into that. You don't see it too much in like Black Science or like more of the comic booky things, but on his own art that he does, so like your Batman, so on and so forth, on like commissioned pieces that he does, or like the Savage Street Vigilante cover that he did for Jim, like that thing is super sick. So if he were to take that aesthetic and try to transfer that into a comic book, I think that would really play into his strengths more, because the dude can really draw his ass off. But when you're still looking at Black Science, there's still kind of like a comic book aesthetic to it, you know what I mean? And I think Matteo is above that. And I think that all three of the Inkpulp guys are above like your stereotypical comic book art. I mean, look at Savage Street Vigilante. I mean, we're going to be taking a look at that, some of it at least later today. But it's like each individual page is basically like its own thing of art. It's not really like a thought out, like, panel to panel stereotypical comic book. And that's because Jim's talent and art ability, he can work his way around having to make a traditional comic book and still make it work as a comic book. And I think Matteo is definitely at that same level to where he could just crank out a creator-owned book and have it be whatever the fuck he wanted and people would snatch it up. Same thing with Shawn. He could do whatever he wanted and people would snatch it up. And while we're kind of on the topic here, let's see here. Because, I mean, we're going to be looking at this later. But just while it's on my brain, like this cover right here was, I don't think it was drawn by Shawn. I believe it was somebody else. Just want to double check that. Yeah, so it was Dave Johnson. But when I saw this in the long box at my comic shop, I had thought that Shawn had drawn this cover, actually, because if you look at Shawn's like most current art with like his like his hip hop doom and that sort of aesthetic, like his Modoc that he drew at one point in time, like his Marvel, not his Marvel Snap stuff, but like he did like a Black Panther as well. And again, we're gonna be taking a look at his website. But this aesthetic, I thought Shawn had drawn this, and he didn't. But with that being said, this is this is his style, I would say. So if he were to crank out a book like this, that'd be fucking badass, man. And obviously, I have more modern stuff, like I have his Kingsman cover and everything like that he worked on. So, like his most recent stuff that he's released, I have copies of, and we're definitely going to be taking a look at it. All right, let's go ahead and pop this down here. Let's start taking a look at some comic books. So, like I said, I went ahead and I pulled Black Science. I do have an Indestructible Hulk, but I guess I just forgot to pull it out once we were sitting here looking at Matteo's work that he's worked on. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. He worked on the Hulk book. Nonetheless, this is what we're going to be doing today. So, we got Black Science, got Rick Remender, Matteo Scalera, and Dean White. I had looked at this issue in particular in the past, and I can tell you that I get a lot of Space Ghost, and I get a lot of like aliens. So your Ridley Scott, so on and so forth, influence on this, and I don't think I'm too far off base with that. When you look at especially Aliens and Alien, like the impact culturally that those movies had, it's impossible not for that stuff to make an influence on on your art, because it's like if you're making a sci-fi book or anything like that, it's like that shit is just in your DNA, because it's like Alien came out in the late 70s. It's like Alien, and I would say like Star Wars are probably like 2001: A Space Odyssey are probably like the three big like sci-fi movies that like changed the fucking game, right, for like everything. So it makes a lot of sense why people pull from that, or retroactively don't realize they're pulling from that, because it seeped itself so far into our culture that it has its tendrils on everything. So I can say that I really do like the lettering that's in this. I think it has a lot of personality, and plus it's easy to read. It's slightly italicized, which I kind of appreciate. It gives it a lot of personality. It's like this panel right here is just crazy how good that panel is. Just like the feel of motion and the weight of the character kind of moving is really illustrated. Wow, just like this shot here too. Insane stuff, man. So I guess I'm a little confused on who did what, because I understand that like Matteo Scalera did the art, but what do you mean by painted art? Like, I guess I can. I mean, I understand that there's painted things on here, and then there are drawn things. But is he just painting over top of Matteo's art? Like, I'm not entirely sure how that, what they're really doing here. I would assume that's the case, that Matteo was drawing, and then they were painting over top of his drawing. I honestly do not know. That's honestly something that I'm actually going to write that down and see if get that answered on like a podcast or something. Let's see. So I don't forget. Art, Black Science. So that I remember to ask Shawn, so he can ask Matteo for me, and I'll get an answer for us. Because I'm genuinely curious, like what the work process was for that. Because it's a weird credit. Like, that's not a credit you see all the time, like art by and then painted by, and it's like, what does that even mean? But I would assume that's what it is. But the other thing too that I think is strange. Okay, never mind. I thought they said there was a colorist, but I don't know, man. I think that's what they are doing though. It's Matteo's drawing, and then Dean is going over top of it with paint. Always loved this shot too. Just again, it just reminds me a lot of Space Ghost. Like when I see these frog dudes, reminds me of like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon, like Herculoids or something like that. Yeah, man, this shit's just so fucking cool. This is like way of drawing, like motion and weight. I think is one of his biggest strengths. It's like this right here. It's like you can just tell that he's tackling this dude, and just the way that he's drawing the action lines coming off of it. Just chef's kiss, man. Beautiful. Definitely get some like Star Wars Cantina vibes from this, or like Jabba's palace maybe. Insane stuff. And Matteo is such like a he knows, right, that he's like that he's this good, and that's what's kind of funny about his personality. It's like the dude knows that he like will draw and paint anybody, under the table, and he doesn't care, and he kind of laughs at it, about the fact that he kind of has like self-deprecating humor, but he's well aware that if he was actually up for the challenge, like he's gonna be fucking smoking people in terms of drawing ability. Some alt covers here. This is pretty cool that they stuck this in the back. Usually you don't see that. Like they'll put like little preview boxes possibly for the comics. Not very often do they actually stick it in the back of the normal issue and you get full-size pages for it. And this is also very cool, getting the script. Wow. Yeah, so my scripts don't necessarily look like that. Um, I mean, this kind of looks more like a traditional script, and obviously Rick Remender kind of comes from that Hollywood background, so I think that makes a lot of sense. Um, I mainly use bullet points for what I want to get done on the page, and I kind of let the dialogue flow naturally. Don't get me wrong, like I said, there are points to what I want the characters to do or to say. But the actual flow of the conversation, I kind of let happen while I'm drawing the actual page, because I think that gives it a natural feel to the conversation. Because when you're speaking to somebody, you're not, uh, it's not a binary ones and zeros sort of thing. It's very much like you listen, you respond, you might cut them off, so on and so forth. You really can't predict those kinds of things when you're like psychoanalyzing a script and you're like, it's gonna be right. So that's why when people are directors and things like that, yes, there's a script, but once you have to get on set, it's like you might do improv, you might change a line here, X, Y, and Z. And so that's why I try to be not, I still go in with a vision and with an idea of how the page is going to be laid out, what's going to be on the page, but the actual dialogue itself is fluid up until the moment that book is fucking printed. So that's the way that I see it. And I know that Steve Rude actually works very similarly to where he kind of makes general bullet points about what he wants to be on the pages, kind of what his end goal is per page. And then once he's actually sitting down, it's kind of like, maybe it would be better if he said this instead, right? So then that's where you can kind of make those changes then instead of being so, nope, it's in the script. This is what we got to do. So that's the way that I look at it. Yeah, the world building in Black Science is insane. Like it's one of those things that it's a long running comic, and I honestly think that you don't need to necessarily jump into one through whatever. You can kind of grab any issue and get an appreciation for what they're doing, and then just seeing like a single issue will make you go back and buy the other stuff because that's how strong it is. So that's a testament to what they were doing, and it's awesome that they've re-released this stuff. And honestly, like Black Science isn't a super hard book to really come by or to find. For the most part, it's like you find it in dollar bins, especially like the earlier issues you'll see at dollar bins, but like the later ones, the more low print stuff, you might actually see it at in like a miscellaneous image bin, what have you. They'll be like $4 or $5 or whatever for a copy. But I did pull another issue of Black Science, and this I have 1 through 20, I want to say, of this series. So I kind of grabbed one that was kind of in the middle of that, so I just ended up grabbing number 8, maybe to see how they've progressed from 1 to an 8, because obviously like that's an 8-month gap in terms of comic making. Kind of see how they progressed. Yeah, so this came out in 14, it says. I'm kind of curious to see if they came out the same year. Let's see. So I think that this might be... Is this a second print, or what is this? Yeah, I think that I have like a newer copy of this. Like this is a reprint from a couple of years ago. Because the date on this is way off compared to the one we were just looking at. Nonetheless, you get what I'm getting at here. Kind of wanted to see, the progress that they made in that amount of time. I think I can say right away, the art aesthetic has changed. Just at least a little bit. Oh, where are the credits at? Oh, weird. They gave you like 5 pages of exposition before they even got to the credits page. You don't see that too often. You might see maybe 1 page before it gets to the credits. But yeah, a big chunk like that. That's interesting. That's like, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages before you actually get to the credits? Kind of weird. Not sure how I feel about that layout, to be honest with you. Okay, so we still got the same team here. But what I was going to say is, it definitely looks like it's gotten a lot more scratchy. Especially like here, you see what I mean? It's like it's more scratchy. Look like maybe they're implementing more watercolors, possibly. But I think there is a pretty clear... obviously, the art direction is the same, but I think there's a pretty clear... Like, this, for example, looks stereotypical comic book art to me. You know what I mean? As opposed to, like, what we would have seen in the first issue. When they're doing more stuff like this. Right? Where it's more like stylized cartooning. Let's see if we can find another, like, good close-up face here. See, like, look at this. then we get stuff like this now. Like, that just seems, and I get it, they're probably in the trenches and deadlines and shit like that happen, but this seemed like it was scaled back just a hair in terms of the art aesthetic. Not that it's bad, but it definitely changed from the first issue to what we're looking at now. I mean, there's really no doubt about that, I don't think. I mean, this stuff here is really cool. Again, just mantises. Zorak from Space Ghost. I'm just going to keep saying that's probably an influence on this. Has to be. Yeah, even like in the first issue that we were looking at, you know, there would have been like action lines kind of coming off of this, and he probably would have been more shrunk down, if that makes sense. She would have been more in the foreground, like punching him, you know, and he would have been like getting flown back more. I feel like it would have had more energy to it. I don't know, because like this and this panel like read the same to me. So I'm not too sure there. Like, I feel like maybe this one here, she's cocking back the punch like she is. And then here, it's more of a, you know, like I said, more of a behind the view. So it's, you get more perspective in like the actual drawing or the punch. This seems a little, I wouldn't say flat is the word. It doesn't seem like a very dynamic shot, like you typically would see from Matteo. This dude just kind of looks like Hellboy. Yeah, I haven't read through. Oh, Lord have mercy! What is that? I I haven't read through Black Science in probably a year or so, if not longer than that. So I'll have to go back and kind of refresh my memory on like the actual story and everything like that. But in terms of the art aesthetic, I definitely can see that there were some changes to what they were doing, and honestly, it comes down to refinement and what needs to be done in terms of getting the story out there and the book done right. Like that's really what matters at the end of the day. As long as you're staying within the scope of your original book aesthetic, so on and so forth. Like I feel like you can get away with doing stuff like this. Everybody does it. Your first handful of issues, like they got to be bangers to get people in, and then once you're in the trenches, deadlines start creeping up on you, so on and so forth. Like you have to get your pages out there, right? Like you get them done, and that's what really separates them from us. Is they got their shit in the book and we didn't. So that's the way that I look at it. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's change gears here. All right, so let's go ahead and start talking about Mr. Mahfood. So Jim has been cartooning since he was, I want to say, what, like late teens, early 20s. I think, you know, he first broke into the industry when he was like 19, I think he said it was. He kind of was a assistant for like a merch booth, basically. Just, hey man, like we need a t-shirt, grab a t-shirt, you know, grab a print, whatever he needed to do at the booth. And then that turned into him just, you know, erasing pencils and getting in there and, you know, doing dirty work for people, publishing things for free, so on and so forth. Like that's kind of at the stage that I'm at, I would say, is it's like I'm trying to get my name out there and everywhere. So it's like, throw me in an anthology, throw me in this, throw me in that. Like people will approach, it's like I make the art and I send it out. So we're very much like that in that respect, to where the independent DIY mindset, Jim and I definitely shared that, to where it's like, I'm gonna do it my way, and not necessarily like I'm gonna force it on you and you're gonna like it, but you know, it's not corporate bullshit is like the best way that I'm going to describe it. It's very much Jim. It's Jim on paper, and that's why you love it, and that's why people buy it. So there it is. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at some of this. I know that YouTube is probably going to freak out at some of his art, but quite frankly, I don't care. But yeah, so I have a couple of Girl Scouts comics. Like I got Magic Stocks, Stone Ghosts, normal Girl Scouts, and a couple of other things that we're going to be taking a look at. But if you already don't follow Jim and, like I said, the other Inkpulp crew, be sure to go ahead and follow them. Head over to their shop, pick up some books. You can see that he still has copies of Savage Street Vigilante, and he is currently running a sale. So his sketchbooks and the comics themselves are on a sale. So be sure to jump in on that. I did back the Kickstarter, so I have my copy sitting right over here. We're going to be, of course, flipping through some of it, taking a look at it. Not all of it, just some. It's a new book, and I don't want to ruin it for everyone, and that's not fair to Jim. But, yeah, I picked up the Rugg variant. Jim Rugg is, you know, one of those cartoonists. It's like him and Ed, you know, it's like they're the reason why I'm making fucking comics. So it's like I put them, like, up on a pedestal. So, you know, I picked up Rugg stuff. Anything that he typically works on, like he's doing a poster for Don Simpson in the most recent Kickstarter. Like I picked that up to get that poster. And Don Simpson is somebody who, you know, I have a connection with and everything like that as well. So it's a win-win for me, baby. But yeah, this is on sale. It was originally $30, and then if you backed it on the Kickstarter, like you got a patch, which I actually think it's sitting right over here. Like I literally just saw it. Yeah. So here's the little patch that it comes with when you were on the Kickstarter. And then you got a sticker as well, and the sticker is actually on the back of my laptop. My laptop is just bombed with all sorts of comic stickers. I got a Sienkiewicz sticker. That's all it says. It just says Sienkiewicz. And then I got, you know, my boy over at Japan Book Hunter, Shawn, and got my boy Dave, West Coast Avengers, and of course a bunch of Inkpulp stickers on the back of the laptop. I got to represent the homies. So yeah, like I said, head over to his website. You know, pick up something. You cannot miss with Jim. You can literally grab anything, and your mind's gonna be blown. And when we look at his actual comic books, you'll see that his art has changed over the years dramatically. He kind of went from that, you know, Johnny Homicidal Maniac, I can't remember the guy's name, Invader Zim dude. He kind of went from like that sort of aesthetic to where he's at now. So he definitely grew out of that 90s, I don't even know what you want to call it, like weird, like grungy hip hop sort of, like I said, like that Invader Zim aesthetic is the best way to describe it. And then over into what he's doing now. So big shout out to Jim. Let's grab some comics, baby. And I would say that I have more Jim stuff in my collection than I do most people, and it's kind of crazy, to be honest. So it's like, here's what I have just in my hand, and I have more books in my long boxes because it's like it's redundant to show a million things. Right, we're just kind of trying to get samples here. And he isn't like a super hard artist to, or like an expensive artist in terms of like comics and things like that to buy, but they're a little hard to find. Like you find them in dollar bins every once in a while, but for the most part though, you kind of have to go somewhere that knows who Jim is, and they price it accordingly, and they put it in their shop accordingly, if that makes sense. Because like some of this stuff, you know, is published through Image and whatnot, so you would think you'd go into a comic shop and you'd go over to their Image section, and it would be in like their miscellaneous Image. No, a lot of the times it ends up in the dollar bins. So that's like my biggest recommendation to you guys if you're trying to hunt down, especially Girl Scouts, is you have to look in dollar bins. Clerks and things like that, those will usually end up in, you know, because they're like $5 to $10 to $15 in most cases, depending on if, you know, first print, second print, and then as well value or condition. So that does play a factor into it. But it's just hard to collect everything that he's done because you don't see it that often. Because I feel like when people do get it, they hold on to it, and then it's like it becomes a mission. Then that every time you see a Mahfood thing, you just snatch it up. Because again, it's rare, it's not expensive, but I just feel like it's one of those things that people hold on to it. So, without further ado, let's take a look at some comics. First things first, Clerks. I believe this was the first full-on comic that he had drawn. I could be wrong, but I believe that's the case. Vito had done the cover here, good old Hernandez brother. So Gilbert Hernandez did the cover, and then of course we got Jim Mahfood that did the insides. Written by Kevin Smith. So one of my biggest takes away from this comic is Clerks. You would think in theory that it would be a great comic. And do not get me wrong, I think it is a great comic. However, if you're somebody like me and your biggest pet peeve in comics is the amount of dialogue that can be on a page, because I'm sure if you're aware, if you guys have seen any Kevin Smith movie, they are purely based around dialogue, right? He's very much about the script, and that's kind of where all of his, you know, he's Tarantino-y in that way. It's very much about the script and about what's being said between the characters more than about anything else that's really going on. So when you break that down into a comic book to where you're taking a movie about a slice of life with a shitload of dialogue in it, and then you turn that into a comic book, it's exactly what it's going to be. Pictures with a bunch of lettering on it. So, I mean, you can see here, like, look at this one panel. I'm going to hold this up a little closer to the camera. But, like, look how dense of lettering is in this panel. Like, it is absurd in this one, too. Like, these are full-on fucking paragraphs inside of these, speech bubbles, and this entire comic is like that. And obviously that's not anything of Jim's fault, because the art in this is fucking amazing, and he didn't write the comic, and nor did he did the lettering. But at the end of the day, I think this was Kevin Smith's issue, is that he needed to cut this shit down, because, dude, like, it's awesome that you have something so dense to read through. Like, that's awesome. But at the same time, though, it's like, I love comics that read at a fast pace. Like, that's why I love manga, because it's just like, boom, 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 you're in and you're out. It doesn't overstay its welcome. As opposed to this, I think it's a little pretentious, if that makes sense. Like, it's a little up its own ass a little bit. And I think that really comes down to, this is mid-90s Kevin Smith, and at the height of his fucking powers. So he can get away with stuff like that. But yeah, when I first bought this comic, it like blew my mind, the amount of dialogue that was happening per page. It's like, Lord have mercy. But again, what was I expecting? I was buying a Clerk comic. So, I don't know, man. But yeah, just like this hip-hoppy sort of, I don't even know what you call this aesthetic. Like I said, it's like that Invader Zim, Johnny Homicidal Maniac, like that kind of art aesthetic. And this art had to have happened in the 90s, and it couldn't exist outside of the 90s, I don't think, or like the early 2000s anyways. It's very new metal, let's call it that, you know what I mean? It reminds me of like Korn art or something like that. Like, I realized like Todd you know, did like some of their music videos and album covers and things like that. But I think you understand what I'm saying, though. It's like that kind of aesthetic. It's very hard to explain, but it's like that new metal sort of like look. I don't know, but that's what I see here when I'm looking at this. All right. I don't know. It's like they give you credits here and they give you credits here. It's a little weird, but whatever. I mean, you're talking to a guy that has his last name on the front of a comic book, has his face on the front of a comic book, has his first name on the front of a comic book, and then I have my name probably 3 or 4 times inside of a comic book. So I get it, man. You want to put your name, you want to plaster it on everything, and quite frankly, you probably should want to do that because you should be proud of yourself, and you know what I'm saying? So it's like, here's me, here's my name, here's my name, here's my name, flip it open, you know, here's my name, here's my name, here's my name, here's my name. You see what I'm saying? So, hey, you gotta sell yourself, baby, because nobody else is gonna do it for you. This is pretty interesting. Like this drawing right here, I'm bringing this in a little closer to the camera. This doesn't look like very Mahfood to me. Almost like a, I wouldn't say like Richard Corbin, but maybe like a Frank Miller. Definitely, and like the fingers too, like the squared fingers. See some Miller there. And I've kind of noticed that a little bit, and I've definitely implemented that in my drawing because I would draw your stereotypical fingers or more cartoony fingers, you know, big gloved hands, things like that. And then just, you know, drawing just like standard hands, right? Like just normal looking fingers. Once I started getting more into Miller, just like I said, like Mahfood, guys like that, and how they draw their hands. Even Shawn Crystal, to a certain extent, he draws hands the same way. The fingers don't come to a point, but they come to a flat end. And I always liked how that looked, aesthetically. But yeah, when you look at this, it's like, if you were to show somebody this comic and then showed them this comic, oh, sorry about that, they would never guess it's from the same person. It's kind of crazy, just like how, you know, how his art aesthetic has changed over the years, and that's really just a testament to his drawing ability and his creative ability. He can pivot and he can change his style and make it work. Okay, just going back through this and just looking at it, I still cannot believe just how much dialogue there is per page. Again, I'm just going to bring this in. Look how much text is inside these speech bubbles. Like, just these two side by side. That is insane, man. That, like, you're asking people to read that, and then plus two, it being such a small font, it's like, let me break out my fucking readers like I'm an 80-year-old man to read my Clerks comic. I can say, though, shout out for giving us page numbers. That is one of my biggest pet peeves in comics is when they do not give you page numbers. And what really pisses me off, I'm looking at you, Lobo, the big fragging compendium, because they give you the table of contents in the front. Like, it's on page 300, it's on page whatever, 660. And then there's no fucking page numbers on the pages. So you have to flip through the book anyways to find it. So it's like, why even put the table of contents in there if you're not gonna number your pages, and then vice versa? Like, cool, give us page numbers anyways, so that way I can tell somebody it's on page 15 and they can find it quicker. I don't expect you to put like chapters in a normal comic book. Like when I did my anthology, it's like obviously when I did my table of contents, there's different stories in here, so that's kind of like why they're considered chapters. So that's like why I would do that. So you would know, hey, I want to take a look at Nathan Campos's pinup. So you can go, oh, it's on page 10. Boom, you flip to page 10, and there it is. It makes it easy to read and easy to navigate. So, like I said, it's like that's just like one of my biggest pet peeves in comics is when it's a thicker book, especially, and they're giving you the table of contents and they don't number their pages. It's like, what's the point? Anyways, I digress. Yeah, I'm kind of curious though, like how long Jim kind of drew in this style before he started to pivot a little bit. Yeah, the thick, just black outlines and then the white highlights on the outlines. Chef's kiss, man. Chef's kiss. I want to see the Asher City shirt. Nice, nice. So like this lettering here was definitely done by Jim, and you can tell. So this you can kind of see his art aesthetic creep through. Like this B especially. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I spot the lettering when I see it. I will say, man, I love the way this book feels and the way that it's printed, like this uncoated sort of like, it's not news stock paper, but man, it's got a good feel to it though. It's like, it's not super thin either. Oni was just a specialized company, and I actually have this. Also pulled. Because for whatever reason, I had thought that Jim worked on this, and he did not. So I had pulled this out, and then I was looking at the credits, and I was like, oh, I was mistaken. But nonetheless, there it is. That actually is a pretty cool comic. It's a double feature, so it's like, you know, it's a double comic, and then on the back side you flip it over, and it's a completely separate comic. The comic that's on the back side, it's called like, is it Illegal Broadcast? Is that what it's called? And it's honestly, it's pretty cool. It's like a hip hop. It reminds me of like Jet Set Radio a lot. So if you're familiar, you know, with Jet Set Radio, Jet Set Future, like those Sega roller skating games, fucking badass, man. That's what that comic reminds me of, anyways. So I'd recommend to check it out if you've never grabbed it before. And then obviously, Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes. I'm a big Kevin Smith guy. Even his shitty movies, I love. I don't know what it is. It's kind of like he is making movies from the heart, and I think that really shows. And it's not corporate bullshit, and that's why I appreciate it. And the dude is just trying, and they're not, and his movies aren't always going to land, and they don't always have to land, but you have to put into perspective like what he's trying to convey in his stories and what he's trying to do with his movies. And I think once you kind of look at his movies, like how they should be portrayed as in slice of life sort of things, then you gain a deeper appreciation for it, because people are just like, oh, they're just dumb stoner movies. And don't get me wrong, they are dumb stoner movies, but that's not what it's about, right? It's about the relationship between, you know, Jay and Silent Bob. It's about the relationship between Dante and Randall. It's about the relationship between JC and whatever the hell her name is, and Mallrats. I can't remember right now, but you see what I'm getting at. And this is something that in the new comic that I'm working on that I've wanted to really pound home. There's something special about the duo, especially in media. So it's like Jay and Silent Bob, Cheech and Chong, Shag and Scooby, Barney and Fred, right? And it's like the list goes on and on and on and on. Abbott and Costello. You see what I mean? So it's like there's literally a myriad of things. And it's like once you take one of these characters and you put them by themselves, like in a singular situation, they're not nearly as strong. But when you put them together, That's where the magic happens. So there's something to that, to like the duo team. So highly recommend to check out anything Kevin Smith. Obviously, Clerks is like the golden standard, and I would put Clerks as one of the greatest movies ever made. You don't have to be like a comic book or like movie nerd to really get it, because they talk about the Death Star and Star Wars and shit like that. So some of that stuff might go over your head a little bit. But again, it's more about the relationship between these characters that really matters, and all of that, people dying on the Death Star and all that kind of bullshit. Like that stuff is just icing on the cake, and is what helps the world building a lot and give you more perspective into the characters themselves. But really, is what the story is about, is the relationship between these two. So. All right, Girl Scouts. And as you can see, very similar art. And this came out just a year after, it looks like. Yep, very similar art. Man, just used to the screen tone. I guess I never realized. Sitting over here just kind of like nerding out a little bit. I'm like a fucking screen tone nerd. I have literally hundreds of sheets of it at this point, and I use it, and I like to think outside the box with my screen tones. So I like to look to see what other people might be doing with them, but I like to think a little bit outside the box with them, like I said. So looked at everybody's different techniques with what they do with them. And when I see a good screen tone job, I'm like, oh yeah, give me that good shit, man. I don't know what it is about. Oh, what was this? I just saw like a Van Halen, Fishbone, Mr. Bungle, Ramones. Interesting. But what I was gonna say is that there might be a little too much screen tone going on here. It's a lot too much of the same color. It's probably like Jim probably got his 3 packs. Oh, camera kind of moved here. Give me a second. Let me fix this. Digital cameras. But it's like all the same gray tone. Like there isn't any variation. So you probably have like one sheet and one tone, and that's like what he had to use, and it's cranking away on it. So maybe if there would have been different variations. And a little tip that I have for you guys out there that might be using screen tone, and it's too light of a screen tone, you're like, shit, I wish it was a little bit darker, is what I do is I take a charcoal pencil, or like a charcoal block, whatever you're using. I have a charcoal pencil, and I'll just I'll just basically just scribble on my screen tone, and then I'll grab a blender, and I'll blend over top of the screen tone, and that just makes it grayer and grayer. And then if it's too dark, then you just sit there and just keep blending it and keep blending it and keep blending it until it gets lighter and lighter and lighter. And then eventually, if you don't like how it looks, guess what? It's just charcoal. You didn't lose anything on it. Grab your eraser and just go and just get rid of it, and it just looks like normal screen tone again. But that's been my cheat code, though. Is like, oof, I kind of wish that I used darker screen tone here. I'll just grab charcoal, scribble on it, blend it in, and then kind of erase around, that I need to. But that's been my technique on darkening up screen tones on the post side, instead of ripping out a new thing of screen tone and sticking it on, because the stuff that's not super expensive at all, but where the cost really comes into play is like the amount of it that you're using. So it's like, look at how much screen tone is just on this page in general, and that's where the cost comes into play. It's more through volume than it is anything else. Hell yeah, with the Bad Brains t-shirt. And then I like how the t-shirt how had all of a sudden the band name had changed on it in that's the next panel. Um, but yeah, I'm a big Bad Brains dude. Like I'm a hardcore guy through and through. Like literally, this was the record that I had on yesterday. So, um, yeah, you know, Off, Black Flag, Circle Jerks, all that shit, man, right up my alley. Lucky from the Circle Jerks is a good friend of mine. He's a really good dude. I actually have a my drum set up down in my basement was sent from him. So shout out to Lucky, man. But anyways, so like I was saying, he used the same screen tone, like tone, throughout this entire book. Kind of wish there was more variation in the coloring. But again, this was very early in his career, and obviously he probably just started using screen tones because we did not see this in Clerks at all. Very much could just be he just started using it, just kind of getting his grips around it. But for what's here, the screen tone work is beautiful. It's more of just the screen tone selection could have been different. All right, this right here, you start seeing some of that Mahfood come through a little bit of like modern Mahfood. Same thing with this. See a little bit of that modern Mahfood come through a little bit. Man. Badass stuff, dude. Alright, well, let's go ahead and go on to the next one then. That was Girl Scouts. And then I have Magic Socks. I got Stone Ghost. And then I have another issue of Stone Ghost. I was going to pull it out and be like, hey, let's look at Girl Scouts to see how he's grown over from, you know, series to series. And then I realized that the issues that I pulled out from my long boxes were 4 and 6, and I thought they were spread out way further apart. So at some point, I must have like stuck this further back into my box because I have a majority of these issues. It's just what I grabbed. But I think we've looked at enough of this, and I think these 2 issues will suffice because we still have to look at Shawn's stuff, and we've been going for about an hour, and I typically like to go for about 2 hours or so. So we gotta keep the gears rolling here. What came out first? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you. Let's see. 22. 17. Let's look at Magic Socks. And then we'll look at the one that came out in 22, because that's a pretty big jump in terms of years. Hell yeah, this is that good stuff. I don't know if I could speak English here. I think I like Jim's black and white work more than I do the colored stuff. I am a deeper fan or a bigger fan of black and white comics. Obviously, it's like, if you guys already don't know this, I'm colorblind, so it's like colors and comics really don't matter to me as much as or at all to more people. Obviously, if like a coloring job in a comic is whack, I can still kind of tell that. But I'm blue-green deficient, so a lot of the colors look exactly the same to me, and they just kind of wash together, so I can't tell them apart. So like pages like this are a fucking nightmare on my eyes because there's so much of the same color tone kind of on the page. I can't read it. So with that being said, if you guys are cartoonists or artists that are out there, I know that colorblind people especially, it's not a very common thing, but it's common enough that like companies now, even like in gaming, they make more accessibility options for colorblind. A vast majority of them are fucking terrible, however, like, because they'll be like, oh, this one's for a tritiponia, and this one's for this, and this one's for that. And it's like, when you click on it, it's like, this isn't actually helping anything. Like, you're just changing the colors of this, but you're not actually, like, fixing the issue, if that makes sense. Because every game is different. Like, there needs to be some sort of, like, regulation on that kind of stuff, in terms of accessibility, in my opinion. Like, there's regulation on handicap spaces at the convenience stores, so on and so forth. So for like accessibility options, when it's like text to speech and magnification, all that stuff, like that has to be in your stuff by law. So maybe think about something for color blindness in terms of accessibility, having a color option and then having a black and white option, because like I was saying, this is completely unreadable to me. It just is, because it's a nightmare on my eyes, and it's like I'm not gonna bother. So try to think about that when you guys might be making comic books. Don't be afraid of coloring them, obviously, but maybe think about offering a black and white option with your books. So that way, if people like black and white books more, they can go that route. And then plus, we have people like myself who are fucking colorblind. If you buy a colored book, you don't even know what you're getting into until you open it up and actually look at it. And you might be able to read some of it, and some of it you might not be able to. Like this panel right here is a nightmare on my eyes because of the green and blue together. I can't read it. So it's like, obviously I can tell like what's going on with it. But it's just like I said, it just looks terrible to me. So again, that's just like a personal issue, but obviously I'm not the only person on the face of planet Earth that's colorblind. I'm just trying to make you guys try to think about those kind of things when you're making your comic books. And I know that Shawn Crystal was colorblind too, and I'm not entirely sure his colorblind deficiency, which one he is. But I know the vast majority of people, like the most common one is like red yellows. A lot of people struggle with. They can't really see, so like red, yellow, orange, like those sorts of hues and colors. They just blend together and you can't tell. So if like a yellow thing pops up on a white screen or what have you, it's like you would not be able to tell that it's there because they just look exactly the same. So like this would be completely unreadable to somebody like that. Only the black you'd be able to see. So just again, just things to think about. So we got Hip Hop Family Tree back here. Shout out to my boy Ed. I mean, got this right here constantly. Man, I'll tell you what. It's like I have a fucking super deep connection with the kayfabe dudes, especially Ed. I've said this a million times over. Beat it into the ground, and I'm going to continue to beat it into the ground because I'm not going to let that shit die. Kayfabe live forever. But, man, whenever I'm feeling doubtful about my ability or just down, need inspiration, kind of that you need to recharge your batteries, this is it right here, the studio edition, man. You fucking pull this thing out and you look at it, just even looking at the cover, man, it gives me fucking chills. So, it's like, that's my Bible right there, you know what I mean? So yeah, shout out to my boy. And then we got Cheech Wizard, which ironically I actually have. Let's see. Here it is. I'm gonna pull this comic out so I know where I got this at. What did I say? So it's like, this is what I mean. Like, this is the kind of shit that I love to read and look at. It's just weird ass stuff like this, man. And I didn't know who the hell Von Baudet was for the longest time. And I just continuously saw his name come up. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? And then I kept seeing like this Cheech Wizard pop up, and I'm like, I own that because obviously I'm a fucking weirdo. So when I'm going through my dollar bins or what have you, I see something like this. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, I'm buying this. And then come to find out, Vombo Day is kind of revered, so on and so forth, in like the indie underground community. And that really opened up my eyes a lot, introduced me into his work, and then I'm like, oh, I guess I'm a fan of Vombo Day. Who knew? But yeah, I thought that was kind of funny though that I just see Cheech Wizard, and here it is, man. I told you guys, I fucking love comic books. It's like I am all over the spectrum. Like, it's not just, oh, I'm gonna, because obviously I'm a big underground outlaw guy. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna have my Ed Piskor comics or I'm gonna have my Arkham comics and whatever. It's like I am all over the spectrum. Like, I just love comics. It's like I got 3 or 4 Popeye books sitting over there. You know, it's like I have a stack of Savage, like literally. Oh, Lord have mercy, I'm dropping shit. Oh no, oh no, oh no. It's all falling apart. This is like the downside to keeping floppies everywhere, man, because they're slick, so they can just slide around. But literally just, here's a fast stack of Dragon that I have right here that I've been going through. So, like I said, it's just kind of like, I just love comics in general, and they don't necessarily have to be like a specific comic, right? So it's like, I'm all over the fucking map. Like, look at this. Like, right? So it's like beautiful, like, I guess I can hold it underneath here. Just like beautiful, like this style of comic, right? Just like artful, anthology style sorts of stuff. I fuck with it. Eddie P, I fuck with it. Jim Mahfood, I fuck with it. Steve Rude, I'll fuck with it. The Hernandez brothers, I'll fuck with it. Dan Klaus, I fuck with it. You see what I'm getting at? Literally anything and everything. Will Eisner, I just love comics, man. I don't care. Charles Schultz, give it to me. Seeger, give it to me. Bill Griffith over at Zippy, give it to me. You see what I'm saying? I don't care what it is. I just fucking love comics, man. And I think that's what really, again, sets me apart from a lot of people, is because there's people who are like, I only read superhero comics, I only make superhero comics, and that's it. But they're not pulling influences from all these different places. It's like, you walked over to my collection, you're going to find a Powerpuff Girl comic, like, right next beside, you know, Red Room, right? So it's like, that's what I mean. It's just like the variance of what I have in my collection is just so eclectic. Hell yeah, now we're talking. But I know that Jim is going to be doing a 30th. Oh, this is cool. I really like this like coffee stain ring on the page. This is honestly really cool. But I know Jim is going to be doing like a 30th anniversary stream of Girl Scouts here in a couple of days. So be sure to follow him and check that out. I'm definitely going to be popping into that stream, saying what's up. And yeah, in the last stream that he actually had done, he showed off some of the art that I sent off to him. I mailed out some Savage Street Vigilante fan art to him, and man, this is like real early art, because I probably drew it like 7 months ago, 8 months ago now. So it's not the greatest drawing in the world. It's not terrible. It's kind of like a cartoony version of Batman with like a joint hanging out of his mouth, and it just says like, there's not enough weed in the city to deal with these fuckers. I don't know, it's a funny drawing, and I think I had made it short, actually, back in, like, November when I drew that, November-ish time frame. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is because Jim's intention was, hey, send me a bunch of fan art, and I'm going to make, like, a Savage Street Vigilante kind of, like, art book, and then all of the art that got sent to me I'm going to be putting in this book, if it's publishable. So I took it upon myself to make a piece, and I sent it to him, and both of us were under the impression that it got lost because it sat in the post office for months and months and months, and it showed that it got delivered, and he never got it. And then randomly, he did. So who knows? Maybe the post office finally found it at the actual post office, and put it in his box as proper. Because when I had sent it to him, I think he had gone on a trip to like Greece or somewhere over there. I can't remember, but yeah, he went over. He went over there somewhere. I think that's where he's from. Is He's Greek, I believe. But he was gone on a trip, so when he came back, he said he had like 100 some packages or whatever just like sitting, and he only has a small PO box. Obviously, shit like that can get lost because you're trying to put 100 packages in something that can only hold 15 envelopes, right? So it's like the post office mishandled it. Anyways, they ended up finding it, like 3 months after the fact, 4 months after the fact. So I'm happy to see that he actually did end up getting it, and it's going to be getting published in his book. So I'm going to have art published in Jim Mahfood book, I believe. So that's kind of fucking rad, actually. Hey man, you just have to do the work, and you put in the effort, people will notice. All right, so then let's go ahead and move on to this one here. So it's a Stone Ghost. So I think that this what came out 17, and this one is yeah. So this one it came out in 2022. So quite a bit of years in gap there. All right, so this right away definitely see Savage Street Vigilante coming through more because of that black and white. So this speaks more to me. Black and white is way stronger, man. And then just like doing this every once in a while, just like give me a yellow, give me a red. And this is something that I preach on and I love personally in comics is like this one-tone printing. You see it a lot in manga, like the Google 13 book. Like I always go over there, and that's what I use as a reference whenever I bring this up. And hell, I'm doing it. So we're just gonna make it a meme at this point that I always pull out this Google 13 book to show off what I'm talking about. But I fucking love Google 13, man. But see what I mean? It's like black and white, and then you get like these pages of like this orangish red, and then it just goes back to being black and white. I fucking love that, man. And it's like that's what's going on here. And what really sucks is like Golgo 13 is like my favorite manga, and with all the tariffs and shit like that that's going on, I can't get my books from Japan Book Hunter like cheap anymore, dude. To put into perspective, I sent one of my artists that are in the book, you know, their comp copies, 10 comic books to import into their country. $90. $90. Yeah, fucking nuts, man. Like, 90 bucks to import some books, and that's on top of my, you know, 30 to whatever it was, like $35 shipping cost to get sent out to him. So there is over, you know, $110 or whatever of money wrapped up just into 10 comic books because of the tariffs. Think about that for a second. That's fucking nuts, man. That is nuts. So with that being said, if you are an artist out there, worked with me in the past or what have you, or going to be working with me in the future on this next anthology that's going to be coming up, which speaking of which, I've been kind of contemplating possibly putting up the submission early and still running it for the same amount of time, but just putting up the submission early like mid-May or something, because I already have my 6 pages done. And I do photography for my scanning for the most part, so I needed a lot of natural light, and it's been raining the past week, and today we finally have a sunny day, as you can see. So there's enough natural light to where I'll be able to snap shots of my pages to get them put up. I took a scanning slash photo technique from Steve Rude. and I was picking his brain a little bit about finishing techniques and things like that, because obviously the dude is doing like massive fucking paintings, and they're huge, right? They're like 30 by 30, if not bigger than that in some cases. And it's like, how do you get that in a book, like in a comic book? Because in some cases, right, it's like people would scan that, shrink it down into a single panel, and it was a big ass painting. And my mind was kind of blown a little bit with what he had told me. So they do have an 11 by 17 flatbed scanner, but they're taking his like big ass paint canvases and they scan it in sections, right? So it's like they scan the top section, scan this section, and then they move the the piece away from the scanner so they can scan the outside edges. And then obviously because they're moving the piece off the scanner, there's going to be a gap. So then when it goes to scan, it's just going to be all fucked up and black, right? So you need to block the light from coming through. So I guess they just have like a custom sheet sort of light blocker thing that they made specifically for this purpose, so they can speedy scan his artwork and stuff. So that's what they do to think outside the box. And then they said if it's too much of an undertaking, like it's too big of a piece or what have you, they'll send that off to like a professional or whatever, and actually have that like high res like photograph, and then they'll shop it up from there. And that's what I typically do. I scan it with I take a super high resolution photo, and then I'll scan it with OCR software, and then I'll go in and move stuff around and whatnot that I have to. So that's kind of like a little cheat code for you guys if you need to move things around in post production before you actually get, or I should say, you move things around in production before you get into the actual like photoshopping phase. You're just typically scanning. If your scanner has an OCR feature on it, don't be afraid to ever use that, especially if you're ever using hand lettering on your comic, because you could go in and digitally correct that. Just food for thought. Like in your scan phase before you actually put it into your computer. So some scan software will automatically do that work for you, so you don't have to do that in your Photoshop. Yeah, this comic is way stronger than the last one. See a lot more ink splatter. Arachnid Enforcer? Question mark? Arachnid Enforcer? Question mark? I think so. I think we spotted our man. He's been here all along. We've been lied to. Yeah, this is way stronger of a comic than the last one, for sure. So Stone Ghost, a little bit stronger than Magic Socks. I just think it's not only just like he's more comfortable with like his art aesthetic and everything like that. It's the coloring job on this is way better. I think in Magic Socks it was too gaudy, too saturated. You know what I mean? This is a more easy to look at. The colors are more pastel. It's easier on the eyes. And that's something you have to take into effect, because when your art is this fucking wild, and then if you color it super wild too, it might be overwhelming to people, creating anxiety, be overwhelming with color. And like I said, in my instance, when I'm colorblind, when you have a lot of colors, same colors like blue, greens, so on and so forth, like thrown onto the same page panel, some people will not be able to read that. So you have to take all of that kind of stuff into consideration. Arachnid Enforcer? Like, this is just like a Mystery Men, like, collection of fucking superheroes. I was just reading some of this. Awesome. Good shit. That's really cool that like Image was cool with Jim kind of hawking his stuff on the back of his comic. Usually Image would be like, no, 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 right? Like we're gonna be putting our whatever. We're gonna be advertising a fucking Spawn comic to you. All right, I think we lost some music here. I'm gonna get the music going back. But how are we? How are we doing today? Are we having a good weekend so far? Hell yeah, man. That's gonna be my plan today, though. After the stream, I'm gonna get some scans done, and probably not gonna do anything. I'll probably do some writing. I gotta get some more writing done for the comic. Maybe do some character sketches and stuff, but I'm really not actively working on like any like drawing any pages currently. I'm in the writing phase of yeah, just of a comic because like I said, the comic that I was working on for the second anthology, that thing is already done so. So that was kind of my thought process of hey, maybe I can go ahead and put up the submission form early for the second anthology and give people an extra 2 weeks to work on it because why the fuck not, right? It really doesn't hurt anything on my end. And then plus I guess it just gives it more promotion from those 4 weeks I gotta pound away on people. So yeah, maybe like mid-May, maybe keep your eyes out. I might end up doing that. I'm not 100% sure if I want to do that or not. But I've been thinking about it because like I said, it's like I have my stuff done and all I need to do at this point is just scan it in and touch it up or whatever to get it ready for print. But I can tell you that I kind of wanted to get some other people involved in the book to help me. So if you have worked with me in the past, I'll probably end up reaching out to you guys. Honestly, probably at some point, probably today. Let me write this down. All right, cool. Write that down so I don't forget. Check up on the artists, see where they're at on terms of their copies and everything like that they've sold through that I sent to them. If they need any more copies or anything. But I kind of wanted to get other people involved in the actual design slash setup of the book. The last one I did it completely 100% by myself, which I'm fine with doing on this next one. But my thought is the character that James drew on the back here. She doesn't really have a name, but wanted to take her, and my idea is originally for this comic was to do like a horror host sort of thing, like a Crypt Keeper, Elvira, that sort of deal. However, it's like I was trying to manage, 7 different artists, also trying to do this, also trying to do that, so I couldn't do it purely for a time constraint. But I have a little more time to play with here, so the possibility that I might be able to do it. However, I kind of wanted other people to get involved with it because my idea is, hey, have you draw like the horror host or have you like her in your story, if that makes sense. So it's like you would draw the introduction to your comic, like here's the horror host, like being like, oh, this is gonna be a spooky tale and blah blah blah. Then some stupid ass pun at the end that they would do in like Tales from the Crypt or whatever, right? Creep show or what have you. That was kind of my thought process, was like have a horror host in the next one. That might not happen. It might happen because we're trying to go more of a horror theme on the next one. My next one, this is the main character in the story, Ken Stein. He's just a Frankenstein dude, and that's kind of where my horror kind of comes from. There's gore in my story, but it's not necessarily like scary, like traditional horror story, but there's monsters in it, so I don't know. Look at that how you will. So yeah, I'll probably have to reach out to them, get an update, and see, you know, who wants to really get involved and make some good shit happen. All right, so we're gonna flip through this real quick, and then we have to get over to Shawn Crystal. He's gonna be the last one that we're gonna be taking a look at. He's the leader of the pack, so figured we'd take him last. All right, so we're just going to do a fast little look at this one here, because like I said, it's a newer-ish comic, so we don't want to spoil anything, and then Jim's actively selling this on his website still. So I don't want to spoil anything, but give you guys a taste maybe if you want to go pick this up or what have you. Do have to be kind of careful because some of this stuff YouTube is going to freak out on me for, so... Yeah, like this is amazing. Just the grid, man, it works. Paper, very good as well. It has that same feel like the Clerks comic had. Yeah, this is just straight up Count Chocula. You can't tell me otherwise. Look at this. Yeah, man, it's just fun to look at. I know in Jim's director commentary, he had kind of talked about this building, that he likes drawing stuff more like this nowadays than anything else. I'm just kind of looking at it and just kind of analyzing it a little bit. All right. So yeah, I was just kind of looking at the different screen tone techniques and things like that are on the wheels, and I guess I don't understand like what's going on here. And when I see this, I think that they're fixing this in post, like getting this white underneath the wheels. I mean, they might be cutting that out with a knife. I mean, he may be cutting it out with a knife, but I don't think so. I think that is something that he probably didn't post. So there are just some pretty fine cuts to do. But who knows? That's kind of the downside to me, is because I work on 9x12s. So, and the reasoning is I want to have a faster pace with getting my pages done. So obviously, if you take your pages and you shrink down the page size, you're going to be able to get more pages done because there's less drawing that needs to be done per page. And I'm not the most detailed drawer on the world, so I can get away with doing that. So maybe look at that as a recommendation if that's something that you struggle with getting pages done, is maybe just think about shrinking down your page size. 9x12 is still bigger than your standard floppy size, so when you do draw it on, it's almost to print, but it's a little bigger, so you have a better idea of what it's going to look like on the final page. And for me, in my head, that's easier to visualize, that I'm drawing it how it's going to look on the page, rather than it being blown up and then it being shrunk down. You might lose details, so on and so forth. It's like I don't lose any of that because it's like I'm drawing it to size, if that makes sense already. Slightly bigger, so when it does get shrunk down, it saves you resolution, and then it sharpens up your image. It makes it look cleaner, obviously. So it's a win-win. That's the way that I look at it. All right, baby, on to the next one. I'll probably look at this for a little bit, and then we'll start to wrap it up, but gotta pay our boy some respect here. All right, so this is Shawn Crystal's website, inkpulp.tv. All of the links and everything like that for all the guys' socials, websites, and everything like that are already in the description. So if you want to go ahead and pop that open, head over to these websites, pick up some prints, pick up some books from them, hit them up, what have you. For the most part, they're super friendly, super approachable dudes. Do keep in mind that they are extremely busy. So if you do reach out to them, you may not hear back from them, and then as well, it may be a while by the time you do hear back from them. I guess it's a little inside baseball. I don't fucking know, but it's like Shawn and I are I don't know how you want to look at it, mentor mentee relationship. I don't fucking know, man, but anyways, him and I have like a, sort of like a relationship, and the dude helps me out a lot, and he helps me out more than anybody else does. And I don't even think that's even close. Like the amount of advice that he's given me, the amount of times that I've approached him, and he's given me feedback, so on and so forth. Like, the dude jumps through hoops for me, and I do not lose sight of that. So, Shawn, if you're listening, thank you. I love you. I'm gonna make fucking badass comics. I'm not gonna disappoint you, my guy. It's like I know that um, you guys are watching, so it's like I and I mean he knows too. This is something that I've talked to him about. It's like I'm somebody who needs the pressure, and it's like if I don't have like that like the pressure to do something, like it's not gonna get done. So like I put arbitrary deadlines on myself. And basically, I told Shawn, like, put me on the fucking spot. Like, make me make comics. Like, that's what I asked him to do. I was like, make me do this. Like, put me on the spot. And he did. So, like, literally, like, give me your pitch. Tell me what you're going to be doing. I'll put it on the show. Like, we're going to get it going. And then that's where it kind of, devolved from there. I recorded up a video, came up with like a form, anthology, so on and so forth, had my idea, pitched it to him. He loved it, took it. He's like, this is great. Put it on the show, and boom, here we are now. That was back in, February time frame? So yeah, it would have been February 26th when the announcement went up, and then the book was done, April, and here we are. It's in our hands already. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, if you believe in me and you give me the time of day, and you actually like I said, just let me do my thing, and I'm not gonna disappoint you. I'm gonna fucking show up because I'm a serious person, obviously, and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And it's like nobody is going to be making comics and think like, I'm gonna put out a shitty comic. Like nobody is doing that. And for a quote unquote first go around, like this thing is fucking badass, man. And I can't wait till you guys see what else I've done, because it's like these drawings that I did in this, are like from November, December time frame. So they're like 6 months or so old. And it's like my drawing ability is way better than this is now. So it's like that's what I mean. It's like I constantly am progressing, and I'm kind of in that phase to where it's like I'm like leveling up every fucking page that I do. It's like I can see it physically. So that's like what's exciting to me. It's like I just want to get the stuff done, because I cranked out I was working 10-hour days, 50-hour weeks, or yeah, just about 50, 60-hour weeks, and I was still making comics. I got 6 pages done in 2 weeks with working that amount of time too. So to kind of put into perspective, it's like I was fucking grinding, man, and like getting it done on top of doing this shit. And that's how you get comics made. That's how you just have to do it. You simply just have to fucking do it. I got 6 pages sitting right there. They're done. Number 2 of the book. Like it's my work is finished pretty much. Like I just have to throw it into a design doc and get going there, and it's donezo. But yeah, man, like I said, it's like, let me off my leash and I'm gonna run. All right, so Shawn is, he's worked on Deadpool. He's worked on a bunch of stuff, and obviously I got a fat stack of books of his that we're gonna be taking a look at here. Probably hang it up here in about a half hour or so. But he has done work on like Marvel Snap. He had done cards for, and this is like what I love about his art is like this dry brush technique that he has. And when you watch him during the streams, because it's like when I go into their podcasts or I go into their live streams, so on and so forth, it's like I'm not going in there to like fuck around. Obviously, like I'll dick around in the chat with people and laugh at jokes and everything like that. But it's like I'm going into these things to actually learn. So like I'm paying attention to what they're doing. It's like obviously they're shitting and bullshitting and having fun, but like I'm paying attention to like what's actually happening on the screen, right? So it's like his inking technique, and Shawn is left-handed, but when you watch him do it, it's very much coming across very light and then slowly bringing the brush up off the page. And it's a lot of, has to do with breathing control. So it's like you want to exhale while you're moving your line, and then you want to inhale while you're kind of getting your line ready. Because obviously when you're breathing in, your arm and your chest moves, so your line's not going to be as straight. But when you're exhaling, you get a clear, straight line. And breathing control is super important, especially when you're inking. And this is not things that people think about, but that's what sets pros apart from amateurs. It's like little things like that, or like things in technique that you have to learn, or you don't necessarily have to learn, but things in your technique that you can pick up to really elevate your drawing in your craft. And that's what Inkpulp and Shawn is all about, is elevating craft. And if there's anybody that actually gives a shit about comics and actually gives a shit about like the generation coming up, it's this motherfucker. So follow them, go to their YouTube channel, check out their podcast, check out their videos, check out what Shawn's doing instructional wise. I recommend all of it. I can't say enough about it. And Shawn is just a good dude, and that's what really, again, sets him apart, is because, like I said, he actually cares, and a lot of people in the art community, especially in comics, it's very much a I got mine, fuck you sort of mentality, which I don't understand. There are so many like artists, especially indie community artists, that I've reached out to, like, hey man, like it's awesome, like you kind of set the blueprint for people like us that are trying to do it our own way, DIY, not going the normal superhero route, so on and so forth. Like, you set the blueprint, and then no emails back, no communication back, and just things like that. It's like people like that, they don't actually fucking care. It's like once they got to a point to where they were making their own books and doing whatever. I'm bring up the volume a little bit on the music. There we go. It's like I said, it's like I got mine, I'm out. Like I'm not helping people out. It's very much like climb up the ladder and pull it up while you get up to the top, sort of thing. And there's a couple of artists, and and if you're, I doubt you're even watching this, but if you are, you know who you are. So that's all I really gotta say, because there's a 3 or 4, a select few people out there that are really on my shit list, that are like, especially like on YouTube pretty actively, or just active in the cartoonist community. And if I ever see them in person, I'm probably end up telling them to go fuck themselves, because that's how I roll. But yeah, I guess I can kind of fill you in on one of the things. I'm not going to drop any names or anything like that, obviously, but this is like right when I was first making the anthology. So this was 7 months ago now, I want to say. And this is like while I had the idea. It was before it was even public. I was just reaching out to people to kind of like put my feelers out to see if that was something that anybody would be interested in doing before I'd actually launch the project. Because if I could recruit the people to make the book before I were to like make a submission page, then I wouldn't have to make a submission page, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I already had the people to make the book, so I didn't have to like worry about recruiting people to actually make the thing happen, which I had to go that route. And thankfully people showed up and made pages, so awesome for that to happen. But anyways, some fucking asshole, some dude on YouTube, right? doesn't have a lot of followers. I mean, he has enough, like 3,000 to 5,000, I think it was. And basically, his whole gist of the channel just kind of looks at small independent comics, right? Like that's what the whole point of it is. And I had reached out, and the dude's a cartoonist as well. It's okay, like not the greatest art in the world, but it was passable, right? Like I liked it, so that's why I had reached out, obviously, because like I like that, you know, lo-fi outlaw sort of like look. And this dude, he when I reached out to him, I was like, hey, you know, here's my pitch to the book. Here's kind of what I'm working on. You know, I'd love to have you submit something or whatever, right? Like a week goes by and I never hear anything, which is fine. It's like I've reached out to a million fucking people, and half the time you just never hear back from people, which that also irritates me. Especially shops, when shops are like, oh, we take care of independent cartoonists, and you know, reach out to us and blah blah blah. Like we'll help you and get you on the shelves and X, Y, and Z. And it's like, dude, there have been so many of these shops that I see like say this shit, especially on like social media and stuff. And then I've reached out to them, it's nothing. Just nothing. It's like these people aren't fucking serious. It's like even if the book wasn't passable or you weren't going to sell it, as a business, you still need to email somebody back and be like, hey, like this isn't what we're looking for right now, but maybe in the future we might be able to do something. Like that's what you need to do instead of just ignoring it and not doing anything on it. And that's just like my biggest fucking pet peeve. I come from like customer service background and things like that. So it's like I'm used to talking to 400 to 500 people a day that would like come I would talk to on the phone or what have you when I was working at a call center and all that kind of stuff. So it's a high volume of like needing to process contact inquiries is like my forte, I guess. So when people are actively getting emails and they're asking for stuff to get sent to them, and then you do that and then you don't hear anything, it's like that is really fucking irritating, actually. And it's like, and there's a couple of shops, and like I said, it's like specifically they'll be like, send us this and send us that, and they'll have pages on their website to like submit them things, and then you just never hear from them. It's like, what are we even doing here? Anyways, so this dude, I reached out to him and, you know, told him the pitch of the book, X, Y, and Z. He finally reached out back to me, and verbatim, basically, this is what this dude fucking said to me in this email. He was like, thanks, but no thanks. I don't work with amateurs. That's what he said to me, word for word. And that was the email. And it's like, I want to print it and stick it up on my studio wall, because this book that I made fucking smokes anything that dude had ever put out. And it's kind of like my fuck you to him, you know what I mean? So it's like, that kind of energy is what keeps me going. It's kind of like that. I want to prove people wrong, and that's the kind of person that I am in general. It's like very much like you know, fuck you, I'm gonna do it better than you, and then I'm gonna show you that I can, and then when I do, I'm gonna shove it in your face because you're a fucking asshole. And then that makes me look like the asshole, but at the end of the day, you shouldn't have fucked with me. So that's the way that I see it. Anyways, let's look at some comics. So this is the first thing that I wanted to pull out, actually, and this is something that is new to my collection. I've been trying to hunt it down. I haven't been able to, and I finally, somebody at my LCS dropped off some copies. All right, FANTOMEX. All right, so like I said, this was one that's been on my list for a very long time. This is, I believe, one of the first things that Shawn had worked on over at Marvel. I could be wrong, but I believe this came out way before he had done work on Deadpool. Again, I could be wrong. So yeah, it looks like 2012, and this is 10. So is it? Maybe. I mean, maybe Deadpool. Maybe he did do Deadpool beforehand. In my yeah, it looks like Deadpool is more of a 2010-ish, possibly is when it started, because this is Deadpool 2. This came out in 2012, not issue 2 of Max 2. So I'm trying to think when that original Deadpool run would have come out with Marvel. I don't know that off the top of my head, but nonetheless, like I said, this was one that I've been trying to hunt down, and you don't see it very often. It's not the most expensive book. You know, they're like $4 to $5 books a piece, just kind of depending on quality. I think I paid like $4.25 for them. But the reason why I wanted to pick it up is because I didn't fucking know anything about this, and I didn't know who the hell FANTOMEX was. I'm you know, I'm dating a Latino woman, so it's like, I guess I've started to gain more of an appreciation or more of an awareness of like Latino culture, so on and so forth. So whenever I do see, you know, Day of the Dead type stuff, anything, you know, Mexico related, so on and so forth, I kind of look at it at a different eye now. So when I saw FANTOMEX, I was thinking like, oh, this is like some like outlaw, like Mexico, like this dude, I don't know, you know, is going to be involved with like the cartel or something. That's kind of what I was thinking of when I was going into this, but not at all what I was expecting. And not that I'm mad about it, actually, because I honestly think there's a lot of good stuff that's going on in here. And like this right here, especially in the eyes, it's like Shawn Crystal through and through, because he has a very specific way of drawing eyes and a very specific way of drawing hair. There actually, I wanted to show specifically, let's see. It might be in his portfolio on his website. I'm going to double check here. I bet you it is. Let's see. Yeah, check this out. So like this Invisible Woman right here from Marvel Snap. It's like basically, oh, wrong. It's like basically the same, right? Very similar. So that's where I kind of got my comparison from there. And then as well, no, excuse me. Sorry about that. I was like choking on my spit. What I wanted to say is I really like this, this like dotted, I don't know what I'm going to call it, like background tone, I guess. I don't know. It's a nightmare kind of on my eyes because I think it's blue on white. I really can't tell because, again, I'm colorblind, but I like how it looks, because it just looks like a normal screen tone to me. But I really like how it looks. Instead of like drawing super detailed backgrounds, you can kind of just do that, and really emphasizes what's going on the page rather than what's worried about like all the detail in the back. Is what really biffs me is when people will draw just like stuff in the foreground and they completely negate drawing background stuff and then leaving it blank or just like a solid color. It's like, nah, you got to do something with it, like screen tone it, put some scratches back there, like something, like a gradient. Like it can't just be a solid color, and that's like, again, one of my fucking biggest pet peeves. So I like what I'm seeing here with this. And again, just very Shawn Crystal face. You can see it from a mile away. Has a very distinct way of drawing women's faces. And like I said, his hair too, very distinct, which is like weird because it's like hair in comics isn't something that you would like think about really. The only other artist I would think of that like draws very specific hair is like Sam Keith. It's like when you see his hair, it's like, okay, it's like you could tell like Sam Keith drew on that. But that really comes down to his like his inking style and like his scratchiness. That's where that really comes down to. It's hard to explain, but like Shawn's hair drawing, it's almost like he's drawing a figure on top of a figure, because there's so many curves and intricate line variations in how he's drawing hair, and I think that's what gives it its liveliness, because it's like, obviously in hair, it's like sometimes when the wind blows, like a chunk of like a woman's hair like might come out, like in terms of like the wind blowing, and then the other hair might go in a different direction, or maybe it's just only a couple hairs. that's something that they struggle with in video games, right? Is kind of that, um, uh, how, how they render hair and how it works and everything like that. And there's really no difference with that with like comic book art. And I think he just does like I said, like a great job of illustrating the natural movement of hair, which is a weird skill set to have, and I don't even know if he's really aware of that. But maybe that's something I can bring up to him. But yeah, the covers for FANTOMEX, and again, they look like something that he would have drawn, but no, they're done from a different artist, so it's a little weird. I think that Shawn, especially like his art aesthetic, is so strong, especially nowadays. Dude, give the guy like a fucking like a Deadpool cover or something. He's worked on King Spawn covers, which I have right here. So I have the issue, and then as well I have the print, and he's selling the print of this up on his website. I think they only printed like 50 of them, I want to say. He has 25 of them up on his website, and then 25 of them like he's selling at cons, and he may have sold through of them at the cons. I think he still has them up on his website from what it looks like here. The print I have hanging up literally right there on my studio wall. The print is fucking badass, and the reasoning is like all of this like purple and green and like orange and red. It's foil, like metallic foil, and dude, it just pops off the fucking print page. Like, it looks amazing. One of my favorite prints that I've picked up like ever, just because of like this cover does not do it justice, dude. Like, the metallic in it makes it so much different, and I kind of wish that they went all out and like made a metallic cover, because it definitely would have warranted it. After seeing the print next to the cover, it's like, wow, it's like that metallic makes it so much different. Alright, so you guys can see that I'm a fucking weirdo. Here's the rest of FANTOMEX. I have yet to read through the other issues. I've only read through the first one so far. I did read through this issue as well. It's Deadpool Reborn, and again, this looks like Shawn's current like aesthetic. So if you were to look at like his, I guess his like MODOK drawing that he's done recently, so on and so forth, like they very much look like this, almost exactly like that MODOK. I don't know. So that's something that I've kind of noticed, that his art has more of a cartooniness to it now than it did in the past, because I would say that he was definitely doing the more house style, which was purely just because he had to. Wow, I had no idea that he did Fortnite art. Now that I'm looking at this Fortnite screensaver, it's like I've seen that before, actually. Crazy. All right. So we got Deadpool Reborn Part 2. Danny Way, Shawn Crystal, John Roush, and Joe Sabino. Yeah, so like I said, I did read through this one already, and the thing that I was talking about in the last comic about having backgrounds with like put a pattern on there or something to kind of change it up a little bit, I did notice that in this comic when I was flipping through it, the background's leaving me a lot to desire, to be honest with you. I don't know if that's like a time constraint thing or what, but like this, for instance, like, I get it, like we just drew a rock and that's really, like the point of this drawing is kind of like what's going on here. But, I don't know, it really could come down to the coloring job on it too, right? It's just like, but then again, I don't know, it's just like, why is there so much, like, negative space? You know what I mean? Like, it just seems, like it was made more for drawing for speed than it was for anything else, if that makes sense. That's what, at least what I get from it. It's like they're under the constraints of time, and it's purely like, we got to get these things out, do what you got to do to get the page done and get it out. Like this, again, it's like all it is this rock and just a blue background. It's not the strongest thing in the world. I mean, this is a pretty good dynamic shot. I like the lettering that's going on behind them. I don't know if these like muzzle flashes really work, but I understand the intent at least. Yeah, like Shawn's current like art style without being you know, like constrained to like doing like a Marvel house style, it's so much better, dude. It serves him so much better. And I can't because I know he's working on like a creator-owned book, and I really can't wait to see what the dude is fucking cranking out. Because I bet you it's like it's a chef's kiss, baby. You know what I'm saying? This is what I want. It's a 31-inch fucking Christian Bale. It's pretty cool just seeing him in the reflection. Alright. So, yeah, like I said, I was a little disappointed by this issue, and this is a later issue. It's 56. So I really think it just comes down to, hey, we're working on a budget, we're working on a time constraint here. We just have to get these things done and out. So that's what the pages ultimately ended up looking like. I get it. Sometimes you have to do that to get the shit done and out, man. You just have to get the page done. I have read this one as well. Yes, I have. So, this one is also pretty good. However, I can say that I did notice a little bit of wonkiness and perspective in this, just a little bit in some of the drawings. And if you look at Shawn's current work, obviously it's not an issue, and you have to kind of put into perspective, like this comic is, you know, 12 years old at this point, right? 13 years old. So it's like, yeah, it's 13 years old. So it's like, you grow a lot in that amount of time, right? So, you know, you really have to put that into perspective. But he was actively making comics, and on a Deadpool book. So what the fuck are you gonna say about that? But that's why we're here. We're here to kind of look at what the guys have done over the years and how they've grown over the years. So the first thing that I kind of wanted to look at here that I had noticed was the perspective kind of in this room and on these objects. So when you're looking at this bed right here, so the bed is kind of sitting at an angle. So it's like, it's kind of sitting more like this, right? If that makes sense. So it's sitting like that on the wall. But then at the foot of the bed, there's a bookcase, and then the bookcase is more toward the front of the camera of your panel. So it looks a little weird because of that. And you can kind of see, like, these are her feet. right? These are her feet sticking up in the bed. And then look how she's laying over here. Like it doesn't really make sense that this is so flat compared to how the rest of that drawing is. And then same thing over here. Like look at the wall. It's coming at an angle, and then this TV is basically like it is drawn at an angle, but everything else that's on the shelves is not. So it gives it this weird uncanny valley, and you can kind of see what I mean. Like like it just makes the TV look off, but the TV is drawn correctly. It's everything else around it is not. So like the books that are all sitting on like the floor and stuff here, they're just drawn in normal squares, and rectangles. So it gives it this weird look to the perspective because of that. So that was something that I noticed right away, like when I opened up this book, was like, wow, his perspective drawing has grown so much in the amount of time, you know, that has passed. And again, it's fucking 13 years, so we're talking a pretty big gap in time here. But his cartooning, especially like right here, amazing. I love it. And then we got more detailed backgrounds here, which I appreciate. You know, some of the stuff, it's like, hey, it's just colored background, but that's fine in like these smaller panels. But when we open up the panels and like these wider ones, there should be more detail in the background, right? Because you have more room to draw. That last comic that we looked at, a lot of it was just color the background and send it out. You can tell it was I wouldn't call it a rush job, but it definitely has that appearance that they're under a time constraint, you know what I mean? Like, this is a fucking badass drawing, dude. Look through the binoculars there. Good attention to detail. So in like the previous panels, and this is like something you have to worry about, is like continuity in your drawings. Like, how is the room set up in previous drawings? Make sure that you're going back and referencing how that room was set up. So it's like if there was a clock on this wall, and then 10 pages later you come back into this room, that clock better be on that same fucking wall because you drew it there to begin with. So it's, again, it's that continuity thing. It's like having errors and like that in your stories. That was something that I just had to do because my anthology story that I did, it takes place at a dentist office. So it's like, obviously, you have dentist chairs, dentist lights, sinks, that sorts of thing. So then when you're changing rooms or changing panels and you go back into said room that had an established shot of how everything was set up in the room, you have to do it the same every time. So, things to think about. And I like, too, how it just has kind of like this one setting. It's just kind of like in this lab/hospital room. But yeah, good shit, man. Like I said, the perspective's a little wonky, but the whole point of this video is to kind of like look at these dudes' careers and how they've grown over time. I think his perspective out of the three is honestly probably the strongest nowadays, anyways. Man, is that it? I think that might be it. Actually, I think we've exhausted our resources, baby. Well, I tell you what, because like Shawn really doesn't have any like more what's the word I'm looking for? Like any more like recent comics besides just like the the King Spawn cover, because he's been doing a lot more like teaching. So like Inkpulp instruction was something he's really been focusing on. SVS is something he's really been focusing on, and plus like a lot of his work from recent past is more of like the Inkpulp stuff that he's been doing. And then as well on his website, there's the Marvel Snap stuff, the Fortnite stuff that he's worked on, and then the King Spawn stuff. So I believe he has another cover of King Spawn that's going to be coming out in the near future. But yeah, so it's like, just to take a look at, you know, what he's done, what he's doing now, it's just like, look at this. It's just fucking insane compared to what was in that Deadpool book, right? There's like his dynamics. Like, look at the perspective on this. Like the breaking of the panels and how this is kind of like busting through. I kind of wish that this foot was coming through as well. Like, have the foot get cut off on the bleed and really put that bitch in the foreground. Like, don't cut it off. Like, I like the arms popping through, but fuck it, make the foot pop through too. Like, show us the bottom of the boot. Yeah, good old Mojo is always one of the cooler dudes from the animated series from X-Men. Yeah, man, this Marvel Snap stuff, like... See what I mean? So this is like what he's doing now, and I think that if he were to transfer this energy into a comic book, man, the dude would be running on all fucking cylinders. And this is the other King Spawn cover. Maybe this came out already? I'm not entirely sure. I don't think so, though. I think this is something that's going to happen, or possibly this was a rejection for what this was, and this ultimately ended up being the cover. But I don't think that's the case. I think this was drawn separately, and this is something that's going to be coming after the fact as well. But his just the use of this color palettes are just amazing, man. It's like, they are bright and they work, and then your dark colors do not get lost, and you know, because of the vibrancy of the bright colors, they really mesh well together. And it really comes down to, look at his coloring ability here. It's like you're going from this light green to like a darker green, and then you're going to a black, and then again I wonder if we can zoom in on this. Yeah, just a little bit. You can see like his like dry inking technique, like a brush technique, like in all of this, like literally all of it. So like on the chain, on the black outline here, you know, in the greens. So that's definitely something that he utilizes a lot, is that dry brush technique. And like I said, it really comes down to light feather, come up off the page. Light feather, come up off the page. And then it all comes down to, as well as the breathing technique. You have to make sure that you're exhaling when you're putting your ink down, inhaling when you're getting it ready. But yeah, like I said, I have this thing hanging up on my studio wall, and I think the metallic version serves this thing so much better than the like normal cover version. But man, fucking beautiful, fucking beautiful. I say just give Shawn a Spawn book. That's what I say. All right. Probably gonna start wrapping it up here. We usually like to go about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and we've gone a little over 2 hours now. Just want to get this last thing pulled up, and then we're gonna call it. All right, cool. Okay, so ADPCon, September 13th through the 14th. I will be there both days in Pittsburgh. I'll have, like I said, my main comic, and then as well, I should have number 2 of the issue out at that time. Here's issue number 1. If you already don't have a copy, hit me up, head over to my website, pick it up. And then as well, if you hit me up at Pittsburgh, I'm going to have exclusive stuff there at the con. probably for my ash cans, because I'm in the process of getting a 60-page-ish book ready. And then as well, I'm going to be doing like a print sorry, a sketchbook. So I have to get some sketchbook stuff scanned in. I'm going to do like a little mini sketchbook thing. I might sell that, but I might give it away. I'm not entirely sure if I want to sell my sketchbook or if I want to sell my ash cans. I think the ash cans for my 60-page comic, I think those will be like kind of the free giveaway. But the sketchbooks themselves, I think I might charge like $1 or something for them, because it's only going to be 10 pages, and then, well, I guess 14 pages technically with the front cover, back cover, inside covers as well, if you want to look at it that way. But the actual inside page counts 10. So, but when you're speaking to the printer, right, we're talking 14 pages. So you have to think about it in that respect. But, so yeah, I'm going to have exclusive stuff there. So, you know, if you do end up coming out to the con, I'm going to have like a thing specific to that con that are only going to be at that con. I was thinking like the sketchbook that I'm going to be making specifically, I'm only going to print up like 25 of them, and then have like half of them on the 13th and half of them on the 14th, and then sell them out at $1 a piece. And then thinking about doing like something new special, like hand numbering, signing, and then maybe put in like a little like cartoon remark or something like that, because they are limited edition. They're strictly for EDPCon, even though I'm only selling them for $1. Typically for remarks and things like that, I would charge extra for that, $5 for a remark. But given the circumstance and the occasion, it's like I would have no issue doing that, and it's more about the love of comics than anything. So I look forward to that. So yeah, things that I'm working on, got mini sketchbook that I'm going to be getting ready to print. I have a 60-page graphic novel, double-size issue, however you want to look at that, kind of in the works. I'm in the writing phase for that currently. And then anthology number 2, submission dates, submission forms, and everything like that. Like I said, I might open it up early. That's to be determined, but anthology, the number 2, we're going to get that off to the printers early August, or early July, and then we'll have it back to us by like mid-August. And then if we run into print delays or anything like that, it gives us like a good month or so to kind of play in terms of like getting things shipped to us and everything like that. So yeah, I think that's probably where I'm gonna end up calling it though. But that's what I'm working on currently. This upcoming stream next week, I am probably going to be doing just a simple haul. I have a pretty fat stack of books that I picked up recently. So I got like a stack right here, and then I have a stack over here. So it's like I picked up a lot of books, and I haven't done a haul video in probably, man, it's probably been like 3 weeks or a month or so. So it's been, you know, I've gone to the comic shop like 2 or 3 times since then, and as well ordered some stuff from Dave or West Coast Dave Vendors. So I have a lot of books that we can kind of like flip through and look at. So it's probably what we'll do next week. Probably just like hang out and do a basic ass, you know, haul stream sort of thing, and just kind of hang out. Nothing too special. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and call it here. I gotta get some pages scanned in, get that taken care of, and once that's all done, I'm gonna continue writing what I'm working on. But yeah, thanks for hanging out and talking comics, and we'll see you next week. If you're watching it on the replay, all the timestamps will be in the description. Thanks, everyone.